Hello, hello, ladies. Good afternoon. How is everyone doing on this beautiful Sunday afternoon, wherever you are in the United States, outside of the United States? My name is Jacqueline Kaba-Harrison. You are joining us for A Queen's Roundtable Show, which happens every second and fourth Sunday of the month. This is episode 21, season 3. I have a phenomenal guest here. I am going to, I'm sorry, let me take it back a little bit before I let her introduce herself. The purpose of A Queen's Roundtable Show is to help African American women that either are on the fence with starting a business or you've already started your coaching, consulting, whatever type of business that you have, and you want tips, right? You want different tips and techniques about how to maintain consistency, how to show up, you name it, right? And entrepreneurs like stop shop, if you will. So that is the purpose of this A Queens Roundtable Show. I aim to provide you value. Now, with further ado, I'm going to let my phenomenal guest introduce herself while I go ahead and share the broadcast out.
Good evening, everybody. Depending on where you are tuning in, which time zone you're in right now. My name is Brittany Slack. I am the CEO, founder, originator of the Blessing Operation. Now, we offer 4 different facets. I have a fashion portion. I offer nail technique, nail mani and pedi services, notary services, and lastly, real estate services. So first, the more, I guess, creative, exciting part I'll get into briefly is fashion. Now, most people say, oh, fashion, you just think clothes, but I'm a wardrobe stylist. Now, what I do is I work on putting looks together. Now, a lot of people think that the only thing that somebody in my industry can do is sew. But my main goal and my passion is helping people to coordinate their looks. There are a lot of other fancier terms that I can use, but it's easier just to say, the coordination of looks. I have a bachelor's degree. It's a fine arts bachelor's degree. It's a very interesting degree. A lot of people, you'll learn in time that a lot of people are in my industry now because it's not as required to have a degree to do my field. But years ago, before Instagram and Facebook, it was a little bit harder to get into this industry. So over the years, I've styled for drama departments 8 hours away for a very well respected ministry in Orlando, and I almost joined years ago. And the overseer, my mom actually used to work for a very well known prophetess, well, her husband. And when my mother worked as a receptionist, we were blessed to be able to meet quite a bit of people. So one of these people used to play piano for uh, Dr. T.D. Jakes and a lot of other prominent names. And then he introduced us to another well known general in the gospel who has a church in Orlando. So even while I was in Atlanta, I had the wonderful opportunity to style a drama department, which was actually quite interesting because I am out of state and we almost actually relocated to join that ministry. And I've also worked with people kind of like more on the performing arts, musicians. I've styled quite a bit of people. I get quite a bit of requests. A lot of musicians, interesting enough, in the gospel industry have requested my services. I think regionally, because a lot of them are out of state, a lot of them are not in Georgia. We have to always, go through the dynamics of that. But I'm always getting requests. Just not even just in gospel industry, but in other markets as well. Business professionals, just everybody. So I've been doing this around 2012, but most people don't realize that my grandmother actually had a major fashion profession up in Manhattan on Broadway. So she was really, really active in that. And even, as her dementia sets in, all over her condo in New York, that's all she has is her fashion business. And I come from a long line of entrepreneurs and people who have ran their business. So it's only natural that I kind of went, the other step further. I'm 29, no kids yet. I have a lot of younger nieces and I'm sorry, younger cousins. I call them nieces and nephews, but I have a lot of younger relatives who I treat like my sons and daughters, and I have a grand nephew that I treat like my nephew, but I don't have like any babies yet, so I'm quite
Okay.
spoiled. It's probably safer for me not to have kids right now because I'm like a big baby myself, so I think I need to like hold up right now. But other than that, it's
Okay.
It's just been pretty much, just me and my mom all these years. Me and my dad, we have a very interesting relationship, but my mom, she's been divorced for quite a while now, dated on and
Hmm.
off, but it's pretty much just been, me and my mom. We're quite close. People think sometimes that we're sisters. So, I have been in Atlanta all my life. I've traveled quite a bit, in the continental United States. I'm looking
Hmm.
forward to going overseas. I have family that, they've been to Cambodia and they can, because, and then they go to Australia and stuff like that. But I've never been like overseas, but I'm looking forward to doing that because I'm always been very, very curious about, what goes on outside of the continental U.S. Okay, let's go back to the, I'm sorry, let's go back to the business. The notary, of course, a lot of people don't realize with the notary service that I'll be offering, some people say, okay, you stamp something and there you go. But then you can also be a loan agent. That's more lucrative. And I can sign off on, real estate forms and stuff like that, which is really what I'm leaning toward, not
Okay.
necessarily just the notary. So I did notary fashion. Of course, with the mobile spa, my goal is to have a mobile vehicle, and I'll be able to provide mani and pedi services to people in the metro, and I'll probably get a demand out of state, but I want to start in the Metro Atlanta area. But
Nice.
my issue is I have half Cambodian relatives, so I know the Asian part of the market. I'm not as familiar with the American part of the market, so I'm having to learn how to do it the American way, and that's my struggle right now. And when I'm applying for internships like that, it's kind of hard for me to apply because, of course, people that I'm applying for, they're Americans, so I'm having a little bit of a roadblock with that. But I'm slowly starting to learn the American way to do nails because I don't really know how to do the business part of it the American way. I know how to, get services the American way, but I know the business side of it on the Asian aspect. It's totally different than the American way. People don't realize how different the Asian way of doing nail services is compared to the American way. So that's my problem right now. And real estate, I'm doing a lot of wholesale, what they call bird dogging. That's kind of, finding homes and things like that. Pretty much all over the 50 states.
You
That's
know
been
what,
going really, really well. Yes.
Brittany? You know what? Okay, a couple of things. I'm looking at the recording, and it's like you are at the like your face is cut off at the top of it. I don't
Is
know if
that
you can
better?
see it
Is
on
that better?
your. Do you have a device where you can look at it to see how it
No,
looks? Because I
no.
want people to be
Is
able to
that
see you,
better?
and it's like it's cutting you off.
Is
Like
that
right
better?
here, all of this is cut off.
Is that better?
Yeah, yeah. Look, it looks better. Yep,
Maybe that.
like how you had it the first time when you first, moved back away from it. Okay, that's a little bit better. Yep, perfect. All right, so that should be
Wait.
better
Is that?
because
Is
sometimes
that?
it's like a little bit of a delay. Okay,
I
yep,
can.
that's better.
Let's try this. We can try
Are you
this.
able
Is
to
that
prop it
better?
up like that? Will it stay?
I need to buy a tripod, but is that better?
Yep, that's better.
Yes, yes, yes.
And I
So
don't know, like, I mean, can you hear yourself kind of going in and out? You keep sticking a
yeah,
little bit.
I don't know if it's
Okay,
like in
I don't
there.
know
Maybe.
why.
Is that better? Is that better?
Hmm.
Okay, yeah,
Well,
it
the way
bounced.
you had it the first time was better though.
Okay, is it?
Like,
Okay. I don't remember how I.
okay, that's
Okay.
that's much better. Yep,
Maybe.
perfect. That's good right there.
Okay,
Yep,
that's okay. It was too
yep.
close.
So
Okay.
can you prop it up like that?
Yes, I can keep it like this. Is that
Okay.
better?
That's much better than it was at first.
Okay, but can you see me? I want to make sure you can see me.
Yeah, I can see you. With it now, you
Okay,
still cut off a slight bit at the top. Like maybe this part is cut off at the top.
maybe is it the maybe it's like, is that better? That might be better.
Yeah, that's good. Do you have another device where you can look at it on so you can see
Not
how you
yet.
look? No? Okay.
Sorry. Okay.
Because I don't want you to be like, girl, why you didn't tell me, that it looked like this before, you know what I mean? Okay, so that looks good right there.
Okay.
Because you can still see the top of your head, which is good. We
Yes,
don't
yes,
want you
yes.
to be cut off.
Okay, that's perfect.
And then
Okay.
for those that may join us too, please let me know in the comments if you can't see us or you can't hear us, okay? That's why I put these on, Brittany, too, because for some reason I could barely hear you. I hope it's not like that for the listeners, but I can hear you fine now. But when I didn't have these on, that's what I was doing, kept doing like that, because I really couldn't hear you.
Is
So
that better?
again, okay, it seems good now. Okay, sorry to interrupt you. I just didn't want it to get on, too far, and like I said, you can only be seen from here on down, but that looks pretty good now.
Oh, oh, can you? I can talk louder. That might help too. Is that better?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay,
Okay,
perfect.
so keep it,
So,
yeah, keep it just like that.
okay, should I start again or?
No, no, because we're still live.
Okay, so I think I did notary. I
You're
did
right. You
fan
talked about you just left
of
off with the
real
notary. Yep.
estate and nails. Okay, so that is the blessing operation. I'm also working on three MLMs. Now with those MLMs, one is in energy services. Another, I'm doing what they call drop shipping. So that'll be pretty much like having my own store online. And I'm
Okay.
actually finishing up the training on that. And then lastly, I'm trying to remember. Oh, and then I'm also getting into Forex as well.
Now
So
what's that? Forex.
it's kind of like what most people think. It's kind of like a real estate, and it's kind of like trading, but it's
Okay.
kind of like investing and kind of flipping money. So my dad actually did really well with this really long time ago, 20 plus years ago. He and
Hmm.
my mom have been doing MLM, I guess I guess what people now call multi-level marketing many years ago before we had the internet. So I have a lot of backing in that. I've been doing this since I've been in diapers, so it kind of gives me a
Wow.
different effect than. So I would say that I've kind of been around, the business industry almost 30 years since I've been born because
Wow.
that's all I've been around in computers. So
That's
it's
amazing.
it's been a journey seeing how the internet has changed. I've aside from my
Mhm.
brand, I've done social media for various ministries and stuff like that. And just to see social media evolve over the years, it's been quite fascinating to say the least. So.
Yeah. But you're like you said, I mean, I've been doing like an online business for the past, well, let's say 4 years. I had kind of been thinking about it, but really active the past 3 years. And it has really evolved and really changed, right? And
Mhm.
even that short amount of time. So just think about how it's evolved within the last 15 years,
Mhm.
is amazing, but and you said you're 29, right?
I am. I'll be
Right.
30 in February. Yes, yes, yes.
Oh, okay. All right, look at you. So that's wonderful. Starting out at this age, kind of getting your feet wet and doing a lot of different types of things, and that way you can kind of see what you like,
Mhm.
maybe what you don't like as much, or what you want to kind of delegate. Like you want to keep that particular business line open, but maybe you might want to delegate someone else to run that particular part of it. But yet you do this over here because that's what you feel most
Right.
passionate about. So that's a
Mhm.
excellent, excellent. And I hope some of the young ladies that may be listening out there that are thinking about entrepreneurship, or maybe you started and you're still kind of working things out, that this could be an inspiration in terms of being able to just keep you inspired. Whatever you want to do, you can do it. If you put something together and it doesn't quite work out the way you want it to, you just change it up, right? You just you
Right.
switch it up, you change it, you modify it. And a lot of times, even for those business owners, it's like every time I get on, I get like a tickle in my nose. Sorry about that, ladies.
Mhm.
And some of the more seasoned business owners, they know that from
Right.
time to time you go through like a metamorphosis, if you will, and
Mhm.
things change as you grow, as you experience different things, you change, right? And that's okay to do that. So basically, entrepreneurship is in your blood, basically, is what you were sharing with us, right? It's,
Yes.
it's like a part of you. You've seen it from your parents. You've been
Right.
doing it for a very long time,
I have. Yeah.
so. hmm, Sorry, y'all. I mean, I'm telling you, I guess because I got this window open and maybe it's the grass. I think it's kind of like irritating me. But I'm gonna go ahead and pull up the interview questions in
Okay.
particular. But before I dive into asking you, different questions, is there anything else you wanted to share with us? I mean, just briefly before we start our questions.
Well, I'm trying to think. I will be honest. I'm not exactly sure. I know a lot of people literally across the country and world, so I don't know who's viewing this. I'm trying to make sure I give content. Well, here's my thing. I go to a very prominent, well-respected mega church in the city of Atlanta, and a lot of people think that I'm quiet, but I'm very career driven. My parents are extremely extremely old school. So everything that I'm learning in business and in my life is very standard, but then I'm also very millennial. So at this point right now, I'm having a challenge even branding myself because I don't want to
Okay.
be too millennial, too old school. I want to keep it in that vein. So right now that I'm kind of finding my own kind of, I wouldn't say groove, in my little in between, it's making life a lot easier because that's been my own
Mm-hmm.
personal battle, just trying to still be millennial and had quite a bit of friends in school, extremely popular, but then still show the respect and honor to my parents. My mom very well respected in the black church community, and just trying to keep that name going has been quite the challenge for me over the last couple of
Okay.
years.
You know, well, you're
So,
starting to kind of break up a little bit.
yes,
So
can
I
you?
kind of heard bits and pieces. I know you
Yes,
said you want to, I guess you want to find that balance between millennial and kind of more traditional, a little bit more old
yes,
school, for lack of better
exactly.
words, right? Okay.
Yes, 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 yes. Yes.
Okay. Let me just, I'm sorry, and I was having trouble pulling up my document here. So I know you're currently in Atlanta. And now I'm sorry, did you share with us, or maybe you kind of went out earlier? I'm not sure. But do you have brothers and sisters? Or how
Well,
many?
that's a funny question. Now on my mom's side, I'm an only child, but I have
Okay.
siblings on my father's side. But being with my dad's relationship, which is very interesting, I will say. I believe I have a couple of brothers and a couple of sisters. And before my uncle passed away, he told me a couple of those names. My father has decided to kind of keep my life and his kids separated because of the way that he's raising his kids and the way that him and my mom raised me totally different.
Mhm.
So I think we kind of, but I know I have siblings. I've never met them before. They actually live in
Okay.
Washington, D.C.,
Okay.
having a wonderful life up there, really, really blessed up there. My father's serious real estate guy. He's good financial, I will say that. But my mom's done her thing, to make sure that being a single mommy, she's been quite blessed too. But dad's good, couple kids, new wife. He's got a great life up there. So yes, I have siblings. I don't like to talk about that a lot due to our relationship. I've kind of come to peace with that. A lot of people, a lot of people in my predicament, we very bitter and cold and act as any 29-year-old would act when a dad is not in the picture. I've have a lot of male role models in ministry that kind of kept me strong. So I don't really think about it as much, but I thank God for those men in my life
Right.
because if not, it would be a very traumatizing situation. It goes in and
Hmm.
out. I have my moments, but
Of course.
that's like my little thing. Other than that, great life, but the daddy not being there because I've always been a daddy's girl up until then. It just altered me and
So
took me
now
to.
this is the father that, I mean, your birth father that you spoke of in terms of the entrepreneurship and watching
He
him.
is.
Oh,
He
okay.
is.
Okay.
When I was younger, and then
Okay.
that's a good point to make because even though he's not in my life in my
Mhm.
mature years, I'm
Mhm.
taking the youthful part that I remember from because a little that's all I did when I was around him, and it's
Okay.
kind of blossomy. I'm glad you mentioned that. That's what makes our relationship very unusual. But then again, I have too many ministerial males in my life. There's a long list that they've been father figures to me,
Hmm.
and at the end, I will name them. They're very very well known and very well blessed. But I will name both of those at the end. But
Okay.
they've kind of been pierced to my eyes because honestly, all of them have the same personality of my father, um, kind of same lifestyle, and it's kind of odd how God kind of paralleled that. So I never
Hmm.
felt like I lacked the father in my life because I always had them to be there. And honestly, most people would never realize we don't talk on the phone every day. I'm not the kind that gets too chummy with men due to the relationship I have with my father. But these two men, they've been that Lou, that's my father. That they've been the Lou that I don't physically have, and they've kind of encompassed that role, and I do appreciate them a lot. So.
Okay. So what I want to ask you now is, you talked a little bit about your, your different businesses, and but I always like to ask what, and if you answered it already or maybe touched on it, forgive me. But what is
Mhm.
your why behind it? Because oftentimes there's a reason greater than us, or we feel purpose driven in what, what we do. So share with us what's your major why behind what you do in your business or how you do your business.
That's a good question too. And a lot of people, this is going to throw people off. I've never been one to need a job. My
Okay.
family, they have air property. They have things. So at the end of the day, I could, take care of a mature relative, help my uncles out. I would never be without. I wanted to have something, that's just Brittany driven with my name on it because I'm always Sandra's daughter, Gertha's granddaughter, Priscilla's great granddaughter, and or Estella's great granddaughter. I've always been someone else's baby. So this is my own individual that I
Yes.
can take all my creativity and show my individualization. But at the end of the day, I'm not one, which is why my drive is a little bit different. This is not, my bread and butter. I have different skills, different talents. And even at 18 and 19, when my other friends were looking for work, I never really had a desire to really have that push to really look for work because at that point I felt like, hey, I was in a financial status right before the recession hit. I didn't need to worry. Folks are running around trying to figure out how to, learn how to drive cars and get that first job. I remember all my friends racing to get that first job. I never really had that push or yearning because at the end of the day, I said, okay, my mom will figure it out, my grandma will figure it out. I mean, that's just the kind of life that I had. Same thing with all of my cousins. We just had a certain lifestyle, so I didn't really have this drive, and it makes a lot of people who are my age and people wonder why millennials act the way that we do is because we've had to work so hard to get where we had to get. In your era, my mom's, my grandmother's, things were cheaper. You all had better
Mhm.
options, but even with the internet, things are so limited. Actually, you all had more options back in the day, as I spoke with my mom and my grandmother, than we do now. And it makes us have to work extra, extra hard. But then again, oddly enough, even in the city of Atlanta, as you may know, it's
You're
a
sticking a
very
little bit now.
and as you may know, in Atlanta, because I have family elsewhere in all other parts of the country, it is a very large group of African Americans. So that brings a whole nother aspect into business as well, and even has a market, and even how I have to present myself as a young lady, but because there are different perceptions that people put in categories that people put you in, being that I'm from Atlanta. So sometimes, even when I grew up, even in high school, I wouldn't even tell people I was from Atlanta because there's a perceived perception of how you speak,
Hmm.
how you carry yourself being from the
Okay.
part of the country that I'm in. So it's been a
Okay.
journey. It's been a task. So
Okay. So that goes into my next question is what challenges have you overcome? Because I always ask, it could be a personal challenge or it could be a challenge within your business or businesses, because again, this is to provide hope, and inspiration to other women out there that are, like I said, that are thinking of being an entrepreneur, had been just started or been in the game for years. Okay. Just to be able to share openly and honestly that, everything is not always perfect, because a lot of times in this day of social media, most people post about their triumphs, or things that are working well, so sometimes you see that and you feel like a certain kind of way about it, and
right,
uh, part of the purpose of the show as well is just to be honest and be open, so I like for my guests to share some of their struggles. And I know one you've already shared, in reference to like not being able to develop the relationship with your siblings. So
right.
I guess what I want to ask now, are there any other challenges that you'd like to share with the audience? And just to speak, briefly about how you've dealt with that or how you've addressed it to the point where, it allows you not to be stuck and stagnant in your life. And like I said, it can be professionally, personally, whatever you feel comfortable sharing.
Okay, I will say this. When I was in
Okay.
high school, I was wild. I mean, I didn't party, but I will say busy, very
Busy.
flirtatious. You can kind of read in between the lines.
Okay.
Boys of all crayon colors went up to me, group in a
Okay.
very diverse part of Atlanta. So
Okay.
I still get inboxes today. They think that I'm the old Britney, the wild Britney, and they don't see me as the business person.
Mm,
So I have to
okay.
say I'm the boss Britney now. I'm not the flirty Britney, but I use, kittier regional terms to explain I'm not the flirtatious wild Brittany. I have business, and like, oh, okay. But they don't know that. They know me as the flirty one, the person who they used to think that I used to hide. That was a big joke that I hid boys in purses because I had so many men. And I told myself years ago, I said, if I can spend this much time flirting and getting men around me, what if I flipped that over and went into business and took myself seriously? And that's what kind of altered my life because I was good. I mean, I had any young man, industry, no industry, basketball. I mean, I had some serious options,
Mm-hmm.
but it just wasn't enough for me. So I took all that energy that I took with flirting and being silly, and I decided that okay, I'm gonna be a woman and get myself together. And it's been a lot, honestly. So.
So when did that transformation start to take place?
Well, right around when the recession hit, because honestly, I thought everything would be okay. My
So
mom's
we're talking
industry.
about like what in the because I know it hit here in like 2004, between 2004 and 2006. I'm in Michigan, ladies, for those of you that
Oh,
don't
I see
know.
what you're saying.
So when was it for your state or your city?
Well, I say right around the end of, actually, at the end of my high school career, which would have been 2008. I was a little later. I do know that up north it started a little bit early. I do remember that, right around late mid 2008, right
Okay.
around me getting out of high school, and
Oh,
I've decided that I'd have to make some changes because the economy just it didn't really affect me in the beginning, but as I got older, wanted to be independent and make a life for myself, I realized that I'd have to make some, more mature changes. And that's with life. And as I grew up
mm-hmm.
and loss of very close relatives, and I kind of decided I
Well,
need
you
to,
sticking a little bit, Brittany.
okay, that, with the loss of a relative and other things, it kind of helped me make that decision as well. So.
Okay. All right. So, ladies out there, please feel free if anyone, because sometimes it's hard for me to see, and I try to take a glance here to make sure there are no comments or no questions as we go along. But please feel free if you have any comments or questions, or you cannot hear us, right? Me, Brittany, we don't want to just be talking and y'all can't hear us. Okay, so let us know in the comments. Like I said, if I'm looking down, I'm just checking to make sure, looking for comments, and now I'm getting all sorts of alerts. And I got my volume down, but they're still coming through, y'all. But anyway, so sorry about that if you hear it. So again, Brittany, I just want to say, thank you so much for, joining us. I mean, we're not finished, but I'm just saying, I like to just say that, because I do appreciate people taking the time to come on the show and to just be honest and be open, because I mean, I'm a social worker by background. You said your degree is in business, right?
Uh, can you repeat that one more time? You're breaking up.
Yeah, now I'm breaking it. I hope everybody can hear us. So I said, I'm a social worker. That's my
Yes.
professional background. And I said, your degree is in business, correct?
Fashion. Yes, yes, yes. But I
Huh?
have a bit in fashion, but I have a business background.
Okay. I'm sorry. I
It's
didn't mean to
okay.
mix that up.
It's
So,
okay.
it's a matter of all of us, coming together and actually talking about our transformations, because sometimes I think that, and especially within the African American community, with us women, I think a lot of times we don't like to have those difficult conversations, and nobody really likes to talk about those different issues that some of us have experienced, whether it be coming from you know a dysfunctional home, where there's substance abuse going on. Maybe some people have been molested. There's some sort of molestation in their past.
Mm-hmm.
Just all sorts of different types of things. Some of my guests have been homeless, and then like people look at you go to their page now and they like, it's like they're doing great. They're doing phenomenal things, but people don't really know. People see what they see now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Today, 2019. They don't know what their life was like 15 years ago. They don't know that they were on the verge of committing suicide 10 years ago. You know what I mean? So being able to talk openly and honestly about some of these everyday things that we go through, so I really do appreciate you being here and you taking your time to come and to speak to us. So I'm just glancing here. So let me ask this. So in terms of a challenge, so okay, so we left off with about the challenge, right? What
Mm-hmm.
sort of challenge did you overcome? And then after that, I wanted to go into how do you practice good self-care? And I want you to kind of go deep into that, if you don't mind, because again, that's something that's extremely important. And I think we as women, we have a tendency to put ourselves on the back burner. Can you hear me okay?
Listening, yes, yes, yes. Can you hear
Okay.
me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I hope you can hear me. I'm asking questions and I want you to be like, what'd you say? So, and a lot of times we put ourselves on the back burner, right? We
Right.
put ourselves on the back burner and we make sure that everybody else's needs are met, whether it be our husbands, our significant others, our children, family members. Sometimes we're, as you get a little bit older, sometimes you're caring for your parents or parents or an aunt,
Right.
you know what I mean? And we put all of our needs on the back burner and we never really practice good self-care. And we end up with a lot of depression, anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
not being able to sleep at night and just not feeling good about ourselves and driving ourselves into burnout. So I always like to talk about that. So if you have anything else you want to add to in terms of a challenge and how you overcame it, feel free to do that. And then after that, talk to us about how you make sure that you practice good self-care, like what that looks like for you.
Right. And it's very interesting you would mention, as, you mature, you have to handle family matters. Being with me and my mom's relationship, I have an elderly grandmother who lives all the way in New York City. So being with my personality, my mother is much more level-headed than I am. So being that I'm the wild one for my dad's personality, I'm the chatty one. So I'm always getting in trouble because I'm always trying to assist and give my opinion of how she should better take care of herself when she's dealing with those challenges being a granddaughter. And sometimes that can be a little bit tense. These are things that most people don't realize. From social media, we are very close. People just see me and my mom smiling all the time, but they don't see that I'm very involved in trying to make sure that my mom is not, stressed and overwhelmed with dealing with granddaughter, or daughterly duties. So when I'm doing that, sometimes I kind of overstep my boundaries of 29-year-old, which causes friction with me and my mom because I care. And that's the dad part of me. And my mom's quiet, well mannered. She's got best personality I've probably ever met in anybody. Even when issues come up, she knows how to handle them as any mature person would. Now me, I'm smart mouthed. I'll say anything. Curse in my head, do every, I'm a terrible person. But my mom's like, and it's just so right now as we mature, we're all starting to kind of merge and connect, and with her leveledness and my non-levelness, trying to bring that happy medium. And me being that I've gone off on my 80-plus-year-old grandmother because I didn't like the tone of voice she used with my mother. That was many years ago, so I've come a long
Wait
way
a minute.
from that.
Wait a
So
minute. Hold on. Wait a minute. You went out for a minute. Did you? You went off with your 80-plus-year-old grandmother?
I did. I was younger, and
Brittany.
I've been through a lot, and I've really come a long way. So what
Okay.
happens is I have clients, and they are very interesting personalities. So my mother sometimes has to take the phone away from me because that Brittany comes out. There's another
Okay.
challenge I have to battle in business. So I've come a long way. So as I become more of a business person, I'm realizing that the best way to answer is not by going off fussing or, back before I even got too mature, cursing people out. That's just not the best way to handle a client. So
Right.
I've really had to learn how to super, super tone down because again, I'm just all over the place. So in business, I've matured, had to keep myself organized too.
Okay.
So yes.
Well, you know what? And it's like, I know I done been there. I'm considerably older than you are. And I know I'm
Right.
telling you, back in the day, I would tell somebody off at the drop of a hat. You know what I mean? And it's not something that I'm proud of. I don't, walk around like, oh yeah, I used to go off on people. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm just keeping it real, and it's a process. I've always had a very fiery temper. And if you came
Mm-hmm.
out the side of your neck, talking crazy, then, I was right there to meet you. You know what I mean? Right there to meet you and to let you know you was talking crazy. And
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't, and it was not going to happen. It was not okay. So as I got older and as I, began to mature, I kind of realize now that it's a way you say it. Like you can still get your point across, right?
Mm-hmm.
Without,
Exactly.
basically going off. So it's like all
Mm-hmm.
part of the process. But I appreciate you sharing that though. Because people could be on camera, they'd be like, yeah, how do but you don't know, they could have just got off the phone with somebody. They could have just cuss somebody out on the phone. You know what I'm saying? And we all go there from time to time. But but we gotta acknowledge it, and just continue, like you said, continue to work on ourselves. We all a work in progress. We're all a work in progress. So what about the self-care? So how do you ensure that you practice good self-care?
Well, lately, for years, I've been so busy trying to keep myself focused on business
Mm-hmm.
that I'm just going back into, I'll have a lot of hobbies. Sometimes I have a free Spotify account. I'm eventually going to upgrade that to a paid one. Sometimes I just block out the world, and I have a very unusual music taste. I'll just listen to that and kind of enclose myself into my own little world and go back into a different mental time. I have a lot of dot to dot crosswords. I have a lot of hobbies that I haven't quite tapped into yet. So I'm trying to, elaborate, touch on those hobbies and just kind of get away from all of that. As I mentioned before, I think when I wrote a lot of TV for years, I had no time to watch TV because my businesses were so busy. So I'm just catching up on series. I don't like to really get into TV that much because it can be very distracting. But for me, I know people say don't watch TV, but it kind of gets me away from the business world that I have because my family actually started to get concerned. I almost started to lose myself because I got
Oh,
too into my business.
okay.
So
You were
I had
sticking
to
a
kind
little bit. So wait a minute, go back. You said your family got concerned because what now?
of, I got too into my business and it
Oh,
started making
okay.
me lose my personality. So I had to start
Okay.
getting back to myself and not be so career focused that I lost who Brittany was. So
Okay.
that was my bigger concern.
Okay. And you know what? I've heard some of the ladies that I've interviewed, they've said that too, that, sometimes like when they get motivated, they get focused and they go all in. They go all in and they end up, neglecting other, let's say other family members. And and just basically not having fun. So I've heard that before too. And in terms of like having a balance, finding a balance. Okay, so I'm just looking at the time here. All right, so we talked about self. You know what? I'm curious. When you said interesting music type or what have you, what type of music are you speaking of?
A soft rock because of the area that I grew up in and the high schools that I went to. I Googled it. At the time, I went to three different high schools. The one high school I went to was one of the most diverse high schools in the nation at the time. So it made my music taste very, very strange. I mean, a soft rock, another genre that most people probably like three different genres that most people, I will say, in the African American race don't listen to at all. I don't look like the kind, which is weird because I'm very well known in the Black church community, and I don't even, and the environment that I'm in church does not
Uh-huh.
really fit my music taste. So it kind
Okay.
of it bounces a lot. So
So what
I
are
get
the other music types? The soft rock. What else?
uh I see. Here's my thing. Now, being that I'm from Atlanta, this genre of music, I had friends that listen to it. I'm not even. I'll spell it because it's probably three different ways you can pronounce it depending on where you're from. So I don't want to confuse anybody. But it's to me, it's like a calmer version of rock music. But
Okay.
it's like an R&B version because I like R&B. I like the
Okay.
calmness. But I think I guess it's indie now. In
Yeah.
the Black community, an indie artist is somebody who's not signed, but in other cultures there's another genre and it's calmer music, but
Okay.
I do like that quite a bit.
Yeah.
Alternative, I grew up listening to a lot of that.
Okay.
Christian rock, a lot of contemporary Christian. Went to a lot of contemporary Christian concerts, had all those posters on my wall, but of course that was okay because I living in the suburbs of Atlanta at the time,
Mm-hmm.
thought nothing of it until I started to travel and I went back to the urban environments of my childhood and I was in for quite the culture shock. At that time, no big deal. I was like, well, what is this? And it happened still even at church. So
Okay.
it gets really, really weird. But yeah,
Okay.
that's
You
it's
know
just
what? That kind of piqued my interest because I would probably say within the last, let me see, my son is 8. probably within like the last maybe 7 years, I have taken a liking to country music. I know
Yeah.
my family, like they're like, what are you listening to? And if you had asked me 15, 20 years ago, I was like a real big, MC Light, LL Cool J. What, like I said, I don't know if you're really familiar with their music, but Whitney
Yes.
Houston, Anita Baker, all the way, right? But yeah, I don't know. It's just something about it that appeals to me. It's the realness of it. It's a lot of basic emotions that we all go through. And to me, it's not a lot of fluff in there. And it's definitely not all about, it's not, a lot of it is not about sex and having sex and trying to get sex and look sexy, so I began to be real attracted to it. And I don't even know if, I don't know the different genres of country, but I think it would be I think it's the newer age country, I think, that I like. But anyway, so it just kind of, when you said that, it made me, think of that. And sometimes I'll share that, like when I put up a post and I say, tell us something unique about yourself that, nobody would probably guess, So, yeah, so thank you for sharing. So I don't want to, okay, so it's 3:45. I'm sorry, I'm not doing that great with time this time. But anyway, so there are a couple of other questions. I'm not going to ask them now because I want you to get into your topic. But then when we come back, I want you to, or once you finish your topic, I want you to definitely tell everybody if there's like where they can find you, like a website or, if there's any particular programs that you're running right now or any specials or something like that. Then I would like for you to tell us or end it with a piece of advice that you would give either to a younger version of yourself or, just a younger person, maybe somebody just graduated high school, maybe early 20s. What type of advice would you give to them? So I know your topic today is how to maintain consistency in your business, right? Okay, so lady, she's going to go ahead and go into that and give us her expertise and some of her experience in that area. Okay, go ahead. Take it away, Brittany.
Okay, before I go on, it's interesting that you've mentioned MC Light. All I listen to is like R&B, older 90s, 80s hits. I don't really listen to a lot of current music. It's just sometimes when I get away from R&B, I go back to my high school years and kind of it takes me back to a younger time period. Consistency in my business. Honestly, not partying. Atlanta's a big party city. So I don't club, I don't party. People think I'm an introvert because I'm never really, out in the party scene. And that has honestly kept me. And it makes your social media a little bit quieter, but in the long run, when I look at my bank account, I'm like, okay, do I want a larger bank account or do I worry about likes? So at this point, I'm like, oh well, I'll take the views. It's very confusing, but I like my bank account, so I'll ditch the parties.
Or do I want to have my nice bank account? I think I'll choose the latter.
and that's where I am right now.
So. I hear that. Okay, so go ahead, tell us about your topic.
Now, as far as consistency
consistency.
Okay, so really, to elaborate on, not hanging out. When I get up, I try to focus. I have a ton of notepads. My mom usually complains, but I have almost 40 or 50 notepads on my computer, and I have all my business plans lined out in my schedule.
Sticky notes.
Yes.
That's what you do. I know a lot of people that do that. They have like all these sticky notes. Okay, so that works for you.
It doesn't actually. I have a notification on my computer that's telling me that I have too many, that I need to delete them. So whatever the limit is for sticky notes, I've over exceeded my limit of sticky notes on my computer because I just have way too many. So it's really a mess, but it works out for me. If all else fails, I'll get a napkin. My mom complains about that too because in the older way, it's better to write things on paper. But if I see any card, anything, I'm just gonna write it down just so I don't forget. And a lot of times I'll use my notepad on my phone. That's been a big help as well. Voice recorders. Just sometimes you get a thought.
Okay, yeah, you were sticking for a second there. I know the last thing I heard was that you like to write it down.
Yes. And then sometimes I will use a sticky notes on my computer, voice recorder, and a notepad on my cell phone as well. So
Okay.
yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I
And
like to write stuff down too because it helps me to remember it. It's something about writing it down in the pen to a paper that does it for me.
yeah, and lately I prefer notebooks, but sometimes, when I'm traveling or when I'm, in my car, I can't quite write down because we have, I don't know, you're probably aware we have awful traffic in Georgia, so I can't quite write because, you blink one time, somebody's gonna, cut in front of you in traffic. But when I'm at peace, at home, I
You
like to
sticking a little bit
write.
again, Brittany.
Right. So when I'm at home and at peace, even though I can't drive yet, I prefer, writing it down, when I'm by myself and just kind of, getting all my thoughts together. I have a bunch of notebooks, and one I've actually lost, while traveling, but I really prefer, paper and pen. It just helps
Mhm.
me to think better, doing it the old school traditional way. So.
Okay. Okay. So you went out a little bit. You went in and out. You were sticking. So what you were saying was that in terms of maintaining consistency or how that relates is that what you do is you use the sticky note component on your computer, and you also
Yeah.
have a lot of notebooks that you write down different ideas and to-do lists and things of that sort.
Yes, a ton of notebooks,
Okay, a
yes.
ton of notebooks. Yeah, I do too. It's so funny that you say that because I know a lot of people, I think they do it like, a lot of people are like, oh, just put it in your phone. I don't know. I'm just not a put in the phone type of person. Like I look at my phone for the calendar, if I'm scheduling an appointment or something like that. But I am so a notebook person. Like I bought myself a calendar and I write down, whenever I have my appointments, whenever I have my interviews, like we're talking about business, I have my calendar with what I want to do for the quarter, the different dates and stuff like that. I don't know, that works for me. And it's so interesting hearing you say that too. So we have that in common. So what are some of the other ways that allow you to maintain consistency in your business?
um list getting advice from relatives who, and I have, like, an uncle who I rarely ask him about business advice, but due to him working in a certain industry and his longevity in that industry, kind of watching him go about his life, my grandmother, people who have done what they've done for so
Mhm.
many years, I kind of look to them, to kind of get a good picture of how me at 29 can kind of stay out there as long as they have. So because my mother, my grandmother, my all my family, they started work so early. I don't know how they did it, but they made such this great life that I feel like I have to work quadruple just to get even close to what they have and have accomplished. So, and that's the other reason why it kind of pushes me and gives me that consistency based on, I guess, more of exposure, because I feel that I think I had a it's interesting that you would mention I had a teacher in my 12th grade language arts teacher that said, Brittany, you've been exposed to more than what the kids were exposed to in my class. I had gone to three different high schools and only went to the school that I graduated from in high school for 1 year. So the other two schools I went to were on a different part of town with a totally different demographic. So when I got to the last school I went to, it wasn't a lot of black people, but there were more than what my other schools had. It was a blacker end of town, I will be honest, at the time. So my teacher, she just kept reminding me that, these are pretty much, and these kids were going to be statistics. They didn't really have a lot of high hopes for these kids. So she was saying that based on what I've been exposed to, there were certain levels and things that they taught me they couldn't even really teach the other kids, because what I had learned on the other side of town, most, if not all, the class had never even done half of the work that I did, and the other schools that I'd gone to were not even an hour away from each other. So it's just a lot of weirdness that I've had to kind of learn through life
Mhm.
that kind of made things different as I got older. So
Okay. Okay. So writing things down, having, writing them down in your notebooks, the sticky notes, the sticky note function on your computer, getting some good advice from some of your relatives.
hmm
What else? What else helps you to maintain your consistency? Because this is a really, really important topic because I think a lot of us, I'm pretty sure that a lot of people can relate to this, starting and stopping or different levels of motivation. 1 minute, 1 month, you're going good. You're getting stuff done. You're
hmm
being productive. the next thing you know, the next month, or oh, I just can't seem to do it. So is there anything else that you could share that would be helpful for the ladies in terms of being able to maintain their consistency?
I will end with this, and I hope I can get through this without crying. I lost my cousin a couple of years ago, and it has really traumatized my family. A lot of
Okay.
people don't realize what I deal with on a daily basis with that. I won't go into detail, but he had a certain lifestyle, which brings a
Okay.
lot of interestingness to my
Okay.
whole family. So with that being said, the daily battles that we deal with offline, people just see me grinning and smiling on Facebook, but the internal battles that I deal with, very, very traumatizing. That was a brother to me, and the role that he played in my family, it shut my whole family down. We can't even really have regular family gatherings like we used to because of how prominent this young man was in my life. And I think having to get through life and do business and see people all over the city that look like him, act like him, dress like him, talk like him. He lived in other parts of the country, so anytime I see somebody who maybe from California or dressed the way he would, it kind of takes me back and just kind of it flares up my anxiety. And thank God for my church for calming that down. But it has started to affect my health. So having to stay focused, and I want to tell anybody who watches this, don't let death, family, friends, anybody misconstrue your mind to thinking that you can't get what you have to get done. And things are going to happen. And sometimes I just want to stay in the bed and cry. And I want my cousin to be here because he wasn't the type of person who would say, Brittany, I'm proud of you. I love you. You did a good job. But him being his presence, him just looking at me, I could tell
Mhm.
that he was proud of me.
Mhm.
And every time that I accomplished something, I just wanted him to look at me. And he would just say, he used to call me B. And he rarely did call me Brittany. And I just need him to say B. And I would be fine. But those are the kind of things that people don't really realize that I have to deal with on a daily basis because I loved him. And he's probably one of the only people on earth, the only about a handful of people that really understand me. And he was one of them. So when he left this earth, I can't say the other word, it really tarnished my mind, and I battle with that every day. And it's been a hard road, honestly. It really has been, and it gets better with time. I know
Mhm.
that's a cliche, but the
Mhm.
older I get, the more I get in my word. And honestly, going to church and being able to serve in ministry, that's been a huge blessing. Because
Okay.
because God knows, without my church, I really would be a really tarnished mess in somebody's bar, drinking my life away, because that's pretty much what I felt like doing when he passed away. So.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing it. I know that was very, difficult,
It
to talk
was.
about something that's so close to your heart. And, I appreciate you sharing. And yeah, I think a lot of us, deal with that at some point. I think you're sticking again. At some point or another, a lot of us deal with, death and loss, grief and loss. And like you said, it gets better with time. And, sometimes in the midst of it, we wonder if we're gonna even make it, but stay hopeful, stay blessed, stay, close to, if you go to church or whatever your religious or,
Yeah.
spiritual beliefs are, that will definitely, help you through. And it's going to get better. It will get better, you know. But I do appreciate you sharing that with us. Um, it's so powerful. Yeah. So we've talked a little bit about, Brittany has shared with us some different ways that she maintains consistency, or that she's able to maintain consistency. And I was so excited when she said that that was going to be her topic, because like I said before, I think a lot of us suffer with that. I mean, it's pretty human. I think it's pretty natural that we, you know, have times or periods where we're more productive in our business, where we feel more motivated, and then times that we don't. But the key to it, which is one of the things that I help my clients with, is finding out like what your triggers are, right? Like what types of things cause you not to be motivated or cause you to lose your motivation, as well as what types of things help to keep you motivated. And it's just like a trial and error. And a lot of times, if people really think back to times in their lives when they achieved a particular goal, right? Let's say especially a long-term goal, because that's sometimes when you have difficulty staying motivated, over the long haul. And I find that if people go back and really take a look at that, what kept them motivated, right? They're able to take those same principles and apply it to present day, which is one of the things that we started out with, is about what is your why, right? What's your reason for doing this? At least I know for me, I have several whys, and I keep that in my forefront. It's a part of my affirmations, so that's why I think it's so important to talk about that as business owners, especially because, we have these visions that we are in the process of manifesting, and in order to do that, we got to stay motivated. We have to stay consistent. So I appreciate you bringing that to the table to talk about it. Oh, we're actually doing really good in terms of time too. I'm just glancing here at my list. So we talked about self-care, right? We talked about challenges. We talked about self-care. You told us something interesting about yourself. And the last piece was where you have to tell us where to find you, and if you have any upcoming, specials, or I hate to say specials, but any upcoming events. But I want you to also leave us with a piece of advice that you would give to a younger version of yourself.
Okay, so what I will do, I'm going to start with the advice that I'll give to my younger self. I'm going to go back. I had a very awkward, I'll say 17. I'll go back to the 17-year-old Brittanee because she was very awkward. I didn't really have a direction. I really didn't know who I was. And I want her to know, as you start to figure yourself out, people are not going to really know where to place you. And you can't depend on what society, what the little girls at school are saying, and whatever the teachers were saying. And I literally had teachers that told me, due to my personality, that I would never go to college. But I now have a bachelor's. So kind of ignoring the noise, ignoring all these things, and really having a good solid friends, family, and people around you who counteract what society's thinking about you and all these extra negative energies. And I want that 17-year-old Brittany to know that it's going to be okay, and you're going to be an outstanding citizen in society. And even though you did some really, really nutty things when you were younger and got very close to going to jail because you were too busy, that's not going to be the end of your life. And your relatives are going to wonder, they're going to say, oh, most of my relatives didn't even know that, but I did some stuff. They're the ones that are busier and boisterous, and they act their age. But I was always the quiet one, but I did my stuff too. And most people don't realize that I did, but I did some stuff. But you're gonna outgrow that. You're gonna find yourself. You're going to grow up in a deeper level in God. You're gonna be a good daughter, a good granddaughter, and you're gonna be, the best guardian to all of your younger cousins. And you're going to, and I don't talk about relationships a lot. I am considering and I am pursuing. It's just being in ministry. I won't get into that too far. That's another challenge in itself because you're really not supposed to date people in ministry. But, being that we're all single, they look at me, and it halts a challenge because I'm single, they're single, great people. And it's like, okay, do you date inside of the church? Do you date inside of the church, outside? How do you kind of navigate that? Because we're all the same age. So with that, I'm very single, but I do look, and they look back. So right now I'm just trying to let God mold that into what he would call it to be. But
okay, so that's the advice to a younger version of yourself. Now, tell us how we can find you if someone wants to connect with you at some point later.
Okay, so I get I have, interesting enough, my inboxes are actually busier than my wall. But if you on Instagram, it's going to be p.a.l fashion. I can write that down in here if I need to.
Yes,
but
go ahead.
Okay, I'll write that down now. But it's I'll write that down. I'm very new to this app. I'm sorry. Okay, that should be that. This is my business. I will give you my personal, but that page is actually heavily trafficked, more than people think it is. So I'll just Okay, that's my Instagram, and then I'll give you my
Okay.
Facebook, and then I have a website, but I am updating it. But on the I'll let people know now. My website is on the Instagram because I'm in the process of purchasing my domain again. So I'll say
Okay.
website on IG, and then let's see, and then my Facebook is I'll give my Facebook. I'll just give you all I'll just give you the blessing operation one because I have multiple pages. I'll just give
Okay.
you, I believe it's this. I hope this works. If not, I'm going to give you another page just in case this one won't work because I have a couple of pages. So I'll give you that one. Then I'll give you one more. Is it Facebook? Okay, I'll give you one just in case that other one doesn't work out. So I think I'll do okay, so that was it. Oh, how do I get out of the? Okay, I think. Okay, perfect.
So that's how you can find her, ladies. If you want to link up, connect with Miss Brittanee, let her help you in whatever, I know she has multiple businesses, but that way you can link up with her directly. And yeah, so I think did you have any other closing words you'd like to share with the ladies?
Well, I do thank you all again. This may be viewed literally everywhere. I do thank you all for taking out of your busy Sunday. We had a busy day at church, so I don't know who will be watching this today or in the next couple of days. But those who'll be watching it after Sunday, I do thank you all for taking out of your busy time to listen to little old me as I discuss my business. I want to do this more often. I actually did more television and stuff like this back when I was younger. I kind of got out of it due to, my own personal insecurities, honestly. But I do miss kind of, being on video because I did this so much. I did more of this, been all over television when I was younger. I actually just kind of got back doing the
Mm-hmm.
video part of it. And it's changed quite a bit. I want to give a shout out to my grandmother, my mom, my uncles, my bishop of the Dream Center Church of Atlanta, Bishop William Murphy, and his lovely wife, Pastor Danielle Murphy, as they will probably be watching this after. And another special shout out to Bishop Todd M. Hall, based out of Orlando, Florida. So did
Okay.
I think I covered everybody? Yes, yes, yes.
I think. Oh. You know what? I just realized we have a question
Oh, okay.
from
Uh oh.
Keisha Pringley Mack. Thank you for joining us, ma'am. Thank you so much. She asked, "What do you specialize in?"
Being that I have four businesses, that is a good question. Now, my specialty is actually fashion, but the other three businesses and the other things that I offer are extra things. But to answer your question, my larger specialty would be the fashion portion, yes, and that would be wardrobe style, yes.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So the fashion. So I'm sorry. So tell us again. The businesses is fashion, and what are the other three?
No, okay, I can write that down too, but it's fashion.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's a good point. People get confused, being that I work on so much. Some people say, "Oh, is it even possible to do all this?" But I actually do quite well. It just takes a lot of skill
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
time management. Let's see, real estate, and we'll say
Oh, she says she loves your earrings too. I know
thank
you're talking about
you.
hers and not mine. I wear the
Real
same ones every time.
estate. Real estate.
Why she
Okay, what's
typing that in? I don't wear the dangles anymore. I stopped because when I first had my son, he was like pulling everything out of my ears, right? And so I just stopped and I started wearing, these types of earrings. They were just much easier. So I stuck with it. But I admired your earrings earlier too when we first got on. I was like, oh, those are cute.
Yes, I've gotten quite a bit of compliments. Actually, I'm very, very cheap. These are actually from the beauty supply. I get a lot of my jewelry. People would be shocked. I rarely tell where I get my stuff from. I do a lot of beauty supply shopping. I used to wear a lot of weave years ago, so when I would get my weave, I would get the jewelry. But trust me, people think I spend a lot of money. I am probably one of the cheapest people you'll ever meet. I'm quite stingy with money. I would never spend too much on anything. So
Okay.
yes,
They are cute. Yep,
thank
they're cute.
you.
So Ladies, she put all of her info in the comments. Actually, I'm not seeing it. Did you put it? Well, I guess once I get off the broadcast, I'll see it. And again, leave any questions or comments you may have for those that may catch the replay. And also, too, ladies, when you look at the replay, put replay viewer, as I always like to know, who's a replay viewer. And also feel free to leave any questions or comments that you may have. And please tag another coach or consultant, or like I said, someone on the fence. And please share the video out, because again, the purpose of this, which is A Queen's Roundtable Show, which happens every second and fourth Sunday of the month at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The purpose of it is each time I interview a different African-American woman that's an entrepreneur, basically. I mean, I gear my coaching services towards coaches and consultants, but I interview different entrepreneurs, and we just talk openly, right? And candidly, just about different things that have happened in their lives, different struggles that they may have had, and how they've addressed it, and to talk about their business and their passion, their purpose, their reason, or their why behind their business, right? So to help inspire everyone, I want everyone to succeed. If you have a vision, I want you to manifest that vision. I don't want you to give up. And that's really the bottom line. I don't want you to give up. I want to succeed, and I want to see you succeed. So that's the purpose of the show. So please, again, tag a coach, share the broadcast out. And Miss Brittanee, I'm going to give you the link as well. So we're going to go ahead and close it out. Everyone enjoy the rest of your Sunday afternoon. And until next time. Okay. Everybody take care.
Bye-bye. How do I get out?